But how do you think you'd change the Liberals to make it more competitive? You said, he hasn't put it on the paddock. I'm not sure why that is. I mean, I've noticed he's lost a few internal debates, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not sure. Sometimes he seems to lack a little confidence. Maybe he'll get it as a leader. I do not know. But what do you think he'll actually do for the Liberals that would make their party a little bit more competitive against you?
Sometimes I think all it is we'll try anything, and so we'll try change, when really it's issues that, as I said, the One Nation are getting ahead because of clarity, unity, strength, clarity in our message on immigration, clarity on our message on building coal-fired power stations again, clarity on our message in making sure that we start putting some ring roads around the NDIS, because this is completely out of control. Clarity in our economic understanding that if you don't have substantial assets in your balance sheet, you can't have any hope of meeting your expenses on your P&L. With the Liberal Party, there's a confusion. They're out of net zero, but they're still in the Paris Agreement, and that's with the coalition. They got married, they got divorced, they got married to each other again, and they got divorced, and they got married to each other again. And then they sort of, I don't know, then one of the parties in the marriage split off and they brought in a new person for the marriage. And it just rings of being in a febrile environment. It's a lack of, people have a lack of confidence. If they were your local accountants and it was like that, you'd probably take your business somewhere else.
Barnaby, I've posited this as a sort of One Nation Liberal battle, but obviously the main game has to be to get rid of what I consider an incompetent
Labor Party
government that is unloved, right? The Labor Party. It's 30% in our Sky News poll this week, just 30%, even with a dead horse as the opposition, it still can't get the love of more than 30% of voters. So it must go. So I'm just wondering, in this same poll, the One Nation was only 2 points behind. Only 2 points behind, 28% to Labor 30. Are you seriously a competitor to Labor, do you think?
Yeah, I think the Australian people are calling it as that. It's their vote, or indicator of their vote. It's obviously not their vote because we haven't had an election. It's an indicator of their vote. And it sets a mighty task for us, and we have to be responsible in how we rise to that task, and we will hold the Labor Party to account. We can see even in issues such as this hidden capacity investment schemes which underpin this ridiculous notion that Chris Bowen, even with all his fancy ties, can change the climate. It's stuff like that. It's cut through clarity in messages and stuff like that gives One Nation its boost in polling. And immigration, of course, calling for the clarity that if you keep bringing in the wrong people, you'll keep on getting the same problems. And these are the messages to the Australian people. May in the past have found abrupt, but now find necessary to discuss. And the Labor Party are atrocious. Okay, they have taken us to record debt, record insolvencies. They have done nothing of any form of inspiration to the national balance sheet. No dams, no freight rail. It's a nowhere. It's all about how they can spend more of your money, not about how they can earn more money for the nation. And they are unpopular. I mean, if any person told you, look, I'm on 30%, you'd say, well, you're about to lose your seat. That's atrocious. It's just that the coalition were worse. And what a shocking indictment.
That's the thing. But Barnaby, I have to say, as you know, a lot of people are saying, well, One Nation is great for a protest gesture to a poll. Come election day, it'll disappear. You've also got lots of parties preferencing against you. You'll struggle to win seats in the lower house. And I think all of that is pretty spot on. What is the key here, as far as I can tell, is your recruitment. Who you get on board to make you, your recruitment has been supercharging the One Nation vote. You need people, and apologies, I know you've got an accountancy background, but you need people with serious financial clout to at least give that economic background, be potentially, being able to diagnose the country's finances. Is that how you see it too, that you've got to go and successfully recruit between now and the election to be taken really seriously?
Well, most certainly you want candidates that have the capacity to take on respective portfolios for which we hope that they'll be responsible for. Andrew, I do believe that a lot of people grow into the job. If you look at actually the credentials, for instance, of Jim Chalmers, he is not an economist, he's a political scientist. And we've seen that in the past, that so many people who've been so-called the treasurer of the nation have no real degree in economics, or were not accountants, or that was not the seed stock of their bearing. It's also important, Andrew, to have around you very competent people in your office, in your staffing. I think a lot of times it's the capacity of a politician to take counsel from expert people around them more than to believe that sort of they're divinely have a divine attribute to be completely across $700 billion of spending in the budget. That's probably not going to happen. And any person who's running an accountancy firm would know that you've got to have people in the office who are expert in the areas where you're not, and that's how you present a good product to your client base. And as far as the vote goes, well, that's the role of the people. The Australian people decide who's going to be the government. The Australian people will decide in every electorate who they're going to have as their local member. And our job is to make sure we get clarity, unity, strength, and yes, we have to make sure that we've got good candidates. And we are doing that. I was in conversations with Pauline as recently as this morning, where we go through the process of finding good candidates that we will need to be standing in seats.
Barnaby Joyce, thank you so much for your time.